Hello and welcome to the June EPALE webcast. Did you know that this month includes World Refugee Day? Every year, the 20th of June is a moment to acknowledge and honour people who've been forced to flee. On this day, we celebrate the strength and courage of those who've had to leave their home country due to conflict or persecution. World Refugee Day is an occasion to build empathy and understanding for their situation and to celebrate and recognize their resilience. Now, turning to our regular feature of news from the European Union. The European Year of Skills came to an end last month. The closing ceremony was held on the 8th of May and it highlighted some best practices, the outstanding initiatives, and the ongoing plans from member states, as well as some stories from the campaign Real People, Real Skills. So, what's next? Well, it's time to give your feedback. What were your high points from the European Year of Skills? How do you want the EU to build on this over the next few years? Share this and more by answering the survey. Now, some big news for the learning mobility issues. The Council of the European Union has adopted a recommendation called Europe on the Move Learning Mobility Opportunities for Everyone during the Education, Youth, Culture and Sport, that's the EYCS Council Configuration meeting. This document sets new targets for learning mobility in higher education and vocational education and training, also known as VET. But it also seeks to boost adult learning mobility for staff and teachers, especially. It's worth noting that there was one key difference between the Council's document and the Commission's proposal, and that is that the 20% inclusion target, meaning the percentage of beneficiaries with fewer opportunities, is no longer a requirement, but it's listed only as a quote aspiration for member states to reach. Now, skills are still on the agenda. It seems we can't get enough of them. The Committee of the Regions, which is another part of the EU institutions, has joined forces with the European Commission for an event on investing in skills in Europe's regions and cities. And this looked at the regional dimensions of skills development and the really important role played by regional actors. And again, it's worth remembering that in many EU member states, it's regions that have responsibility for education and training. So that's where this understanding really needs to happen. And one of the key messages that emerged from this event was the importance of framing spending on skills as an investment rather than a cost. We'll share the link to the web stream of the event on EPALE and on our social media channels, so you'll have a chance to watch it again. The European Economic and Social Committee, or ECOSOC, on the 24th of April, they adopted an opinion on the talent mobility package. That sets out their views on the European Commission's recent proposals on an EU talent pool, the recognition of qualifications of third country nationals, including mobile adults, very important, and on the Council recommendation Europe on the Move. So that's again a document you can download, load, and read up and find out what they were saying. So now let's turn our attention to the things you can find on the EPALE platform. First of all, we've got a great blog post that you really should read. It's on preparing adults for twin transitions through competence development. It's written by Chrysanthi Karatsari, who's a visiting lecturer at the Hellenic Open University, and she's also a postdoctoral researcher at the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And in her blog post, she explains how these twin transitions require people to change their habits, their mindsets, and lifestyles. It means abandoning old routines, adopting new work cultures, anticipating how their actions will impact their future, and grasping how their own existence will change within a more digitalized and sustainable society. So, big topics indeed covered in her blog post. Well worth a read. Now, if you're like me, you sometimes get a bit lost with all the buzzwords and terminology about the environment. But good news, we can help you with that. We have a blog post on navigating sustainability in adult education, taking the first steps in a manageable way. And this blog post is your guide. It's written by Tina Maverick of the European Association for the Education of Adults. So, again, something else to add to your summer reading lists. And given that the European Year of Skills has just finished, if you want to look back over the milestones of the European Year of Skills and particularly see how our EPALE community contributed to its success, we have a brand new resource kit for you. So please go ahead to the EPALE website, download it, and you can have a chance to read through it again. Now, you already know how adult education transforms lives, and we want to capture some of the amazing things that you're doing. So, do share your passion through the Community Stories initiative. If you need a bit of inspiration, our two guests have already been featured. So, let's meet Sylvia de Groot Heupner and Mazen Ba-baeer from the Netherlands. Welcome and hello, lovely to see you.
Thank
So,
you.
Sylvia, the red thread that connects you and Mazen is Het Begint met Taal Foundation, and specifically the project Kletsmatje or Chat Buddies. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, we are a national platform in the Netherlands, and we connect people who already speak Dutch to people who would like to speak Dutch, which is a very nice, easy way of getting people to know each other. And we do that via around 500 organizations, local grassroots organizations, and we also have an online program, which is called Chat Buddies. And one of the advantages that it has for both parties is that people get to know each other, people get inspired about their stories, and also for the people who are not from the Netherlands but are here for safety or for work or for other reasons, that they get to know Dutch people, that get to know the language, and also get the feeling of being part of the community.
Thank you very much. Mazen, let me turn to you because you came to the Netherlands as a refugee, and this Chat Buddies was your entry point to learning a new culture and learning more about the language, as well as learning to speak Dutch. You also made a new friend. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, that is correct. It was 4 years ago when I came to the Netherlands, and yeah, in the beginning there was a lot of there was a feeling of uncertainty. I did not know how to do the things, how to learn about this country, and then I discovered Kletsmaatjes, chat buddies, translated into chat buddies, and yeah, I got connected to this lovely lady, Lillian. And with her, I could practice the Dutch language. That I was busy learning the language, but I needed to practice. And she helped me with that, not only practicing the language, but also learning about the traditions, about the culture, about the community, and helping me go forward. So a friend and a supporter, yes.
Thank you. And that's so important, isn't it? When you go to a new place, a new culture, you don't know how things are done. You don't know where to go for certain things. You don't know what's expected. You don't know how to engage in everyday life. So I think that the story you're telling us is really important. That the language is a bridge to that greater sense of, understanding how things work here and how to fit in with that. Now, your path, you started initially as a refugee using the services, then you became a volunteer, and now you're actually a staff member at Het Begint met Taal Foundation. And that's where you combine your love of learning languages with helping others to make the transition to a new country. We've mentioned earlier that this month is we have World Refugee Day. So can you tell me a little bit more? For newly arrived refugees, it's very confusing. They're in a brand new place, having to adapt. They've lost, often traumatically, all of their roots, their background, their connection. So in the work that you see, how does learning about the Dutch culture and language ease that transition into a new place?
Um, it gives someone who is new in the country another perspective, because you, as an adult person moving to a new country, you look at things the way you are used to, but things are the same. Work is work, and transportation is transportation, and communication is communication. But in every country, it's done a little bit differently. So when you are connected to a volunteer, someone who is a local in this country, you start to realize that it's a little bit different, and that helps a lot in actually calling this new place home.
Thank you. And is that the aim, to help people, the goal of integration isn't just the language so they can ask, how can I make a doctor's appointment, but actually to feel like this is a new home, to feel a sense of connected to the community. Do you see that as the aim of what you're doing, that the language is just a bridge to that sense of, feeling at home?
Exactly. It's a bridge. It's a key. The language. It brings you closer to the people, to the community, and then you have this feeling, this sense of belonging. You are now one of the people. You are now a part of this community, a part of this society. This is indeed the biggest and the biggest aim and goal. Yes.
Sylvia, let me turn to you, because Mazen has shared his amazing journey and his transformation, and clearly, the name of your foundation is, it begins with language, but it's obviously meant to open it up to a whole new transformational experience. So, can you tell us, for somebody like Mazen, what's the next learning objective? Where does he or others, once they've got the language, where do they go from here?
Well, I think Mazen, he's very modest, but he's also very inspiring for a lot of people. And I think for a lot of people who are in a situation of being in an asylum seeking center, waiting, what is next, it's very important to have people as a role model that you can look up to. And another thing that I would really like to add is that we shouldn't forget the role of the volunteers, so the language volunteers, because they are also learning. It's an equal basis of communication, so it's both ways. And I think we both experience that it's also very important to learn more about yourself and also about how you perceive things in your own country. That can be logic, but a lot of things aren't that logic, and it's very nice to have conversations about that, about different perspectives of life, which I think is very important as well in this time of day.
So, are your volunteers sometimes surprised that they think they're there to be the teachers, but actually they learn a lot about themselves and other cultures? So there's a two-way learning happening. Is that a surprise for them?
Yeah, well, sometimes yes, because language is this very nice and easygoing way to participate in what we do. But sometimes this whole notion of a sense of belonging is also for the volunteers one of the reasons. Because, for example, people who are participating in a pension, or people who are cannot go out of their homes very easily because of young children, or they have feelings of loneliness, and through this connection they can feel they belong again.
And Mazen, let me turn to you just for my last question. If you can turn your mind back to the beginning, when you started in accessing the services, did it make you feel welcome, the idea that there were volunteers who were going to give their time and wanted to talk to you, and it was one to one, and that this, because often if you're lost in the asylum system, it's very impersonal and you don't feel very welcome because there are barriers thrown up at every stage. How did this wonderful project really make you feel that somebody wanted to invest time in you?
Yeah, it gave me absolutely a feeling that I was being seen. In the beginning, sitting in the process, yeah, I felt like a number in the system, waiting for something, waiting for a decision, waiting for a response. But finding those people, the volunteers, via this organization, this initiative, yeah, finally someone sees me. Yeah, Lillian sees Mazen and talks to Mazen and asks Mazen how's it going. And yeah, that changed the feelings that I had, because it's difficult to go through that. But then someone comes along and helps you see that it's different.
Thank you to Mazen and Sylvia for being with us today. It was so lovely to hear your stories, and you've really again shown us how the power of learning makes bridges and creates connection, helps people to feel seen and validated and acknowledged as human beings. And that's so important this month when we celebrate and acknowledge World Refugee Day. So if you would like to feature in a future newscast, it's very simple. Send in a story to the community stories at EPALE, and you could be on your way to being in the official EU publication, which is the EPALE Community Storybook. Thank you very much. Goodbye from Brussels, and see you soon.